Hello everyone, today we will be making pizza. I may have to go check on the baby in a second, I hear her fussing. First thing I'm going to do is chop this garlic head in half. And then put it in this little roasting cup. And then I'll put some garden fresh rosemary on it. And then I am going to drizzle this in olive oil. Isn't that cute? Okay, so we are going to let that do its business in the oven. And then while that is roasting, we are going to put together our pizza dough. Okay, everyone, I am back. And as you can see, baby girl has joined me. So anyway, I'll get anything done around here. So for the pizza, we are going to do a cup of warm water. And then we're going to add in one of these packets of Fleischmann's Rapid Rise Instant Yeast, okay? You want the water lukewarm so the yeast will come alive and eat, in essence. If it's too hot, you kill them. So that is in there. Yeast feed off of the sugar. In my preference, whenever making pizza dough at home, is to use honey. I prefer raw honey, so this is some local honey from a nice gentleman named Ted here in Cyprus. I don't always use measurements, so I'm just going to do 2 heaping spoons of that. So that's in here now. Okay. And we will let the yeast do its work. It will start to foam and bubble and all of that goodness. And that's when you know the yeast is eating. So I'm going to pause for a minute, and then once I know that the yeast is doing what it's supposed to, I will be right back. Okay, so we are recording. So while my yeast is eating and coming all alive, or whatever you want to call it, I'm going to open these shiitake mushrooms for our pizza. I'm going to pour some in this bowl. I got the whole 1 ounce bag in here, and I'm going to fill this bowl up with hot water and allow them to soak for about 30 minutes in order to rehydrate. Okay, everyone, my yeast has begun to bubble, toil, and trouble. So now I'm going to add 5 cups of flour to my yeast. I'm actually going to start with 4, and I'm going to let my KitchenAid do the kneading. And if it still seems too sticky, we'll start to slowly add in the 5th cup. Okay, so there are 4 cups in there. Now after I've added all the flour, that is whenever I like to add in the salt, because the salt in direct contact with the yeast could inactivate it or kill it. So I'm just going to put some in my palm, about that much, throw it in there. And then because I like my dough to have a nice Italian flavor, I'm going to put in oregano. Just sprinkle it in there and I'm generous with it, very generous. I like flavor. Okay, and then that is closed off. And then I'm gonna add in some basil. Normally I like to use fresh basil, but my plants died whenever we were remodeling the home, and I just haven't gotten back to replacing them yet. And then I'm gonna add in garlic powder. And now I'm adding in onion powder. And now I'm gonna add in a generous amount of olive oil, about 2 tablespoons. So I'm just gonna sit here and hover while it pours for a little bit. I think the baby's enjoying this. She's smiling at me. Okay, so there is a generous amount of olive oil. Now I'm gonna add in a cold cup of water, just 1 cup. And I'm gonna take this to my KitchenAid and let it mix, and then I'll show you the consistency. Okay, everyone, as you can see, my dough hook and my pizza dough is still very sticky, so I'm gonna just add some flour. Oops, a little more than I wanted to, but we'll see how that works out. That's about 1 cup, and see if I get the desired consistency. So I'm going to let that run for a minute, and then I will come back and show you the consistency that I am working with, okay? Okay, everyone, so this is where my dough is at. Let's turn it off. As you can see, the hook, it kind of is not as sticky as it was before. It doesn't really stick to my hands, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scrape that off of my dough hook. Yeah, I don't want to waste any pizza dough here. Okay, I'm holding this with my other hand, so it makes the task a little more difficult. Okay, and it sticks to itself. That's perfect. So now what I'm going to do is twist this bowl up and coat this bowl with olive oil. That way, while it's rising, it doesn't stick. See if I can do this one-handed, y'all. Okay, so yeah, see, it's gonna go on the edges of that. Okay, I have separated the pizza dough from the bottom, and I'm gonna cover it with a warm towel. Typically, I like to place this in the oven while it cools down, but it is working right now, so the heat is rising onto my stove, and that should suffice. Okay, I'm about to cover it, and then we'll be back. Okay, so the pizza topping we are making is called Taleggio e Funghi. I don't know if I pronounce fungi the way they do, but that's how I say it. Taleggio is a type of cheese that Craig and I found when we were honeymooning in Italy, and it's stinky but so tasty. Well, I guess let's get started. Cheers, Prost, Salud, Jubilee, Yamas. And Salamati. So first things first is we're gonna take our fresh grown rosemary and we are gonna put it in the frying pan, okay? Let me make some room over here. Okay. So I've got my frying pan on medium heat and take my olive oil, and I'm gonna be very generous. Again, I'm very generous with olive oil. It's good for you, it's tasty. Can't really go wrong with it. So there's that. So now I'm gonna take the fresh rosemary and I'm just gonna, get dry and brittle, I'm gonna just crush it up furthermore with my hands and let it fry. Give that beautiful crunch. That rosemary was given to me by my sister-in-law who grew it in her own backyard garden. So that was very kind of her. Okay, I'm gonna put this in the trash. I think I startled baby. She's asleep. See? Okay. So while this is beginning to fry, I'm simply going to take some of our shiitake mushrooms. As you can see, they have rehydrated, and I am going to chop them up into tiny pieces. Hope you guys like mushrooms as much as I do. I think they're wonderful. They have such a nice meaty flavor, especially beneficial for people, I suppose, who don't eat meat. Okay, so just chop, 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 and you know, mushrooms will shrink as they've fried up a little bit. I'm not one for super perfect tiny cuts. I feel like having irregular size things gives things a more home cooked feel. Okay, chop up some more of these. What I'll probably do is I have, I think, 3 or 4 remaining shiitakes, and I'll probably leave those for when I'm doing the final topping on the pizza. That way, I can chop up some bigger slices and put it over the sauce. And that's what we're making right now, is essentially a mushroom and cheese sauce. Okay, so that's looking good. Let me get a towel. I suppose I should have showed you guys what the shiitakes look like, all rehydrated. Okay. So this is what my shiitakes look like, all rehydrated. Really different from your everyday button mushrooms or portobellos. Even more unusual than that are these super radical looking blue oyster mushrooms. Really neat. I look like they came from another planet. And again, I will probably leave some of these in bigger pieces so that I can have some nice giant chunks on our pizza. Pause it, the husband's here to talk to me. Okay, he's out running errands with 2 toddlers, a dog, and a husband, and a baby. It's not always easy to go without interruption. Okay, so we got these blue oysters, mushrooms. I want you guys to think I'm actually cooking oysters. Blue oyster mushrooms. Now I am going to add them to my frying pan. So I got about 8 ounces, I believe, of these blue oyster mushrooms. I'm not really good with giving measurements. I apologize. So let me show you what my sauce is looking like. So this is what our mushroom sauce is looking like so far. I really wish that there was a way I could turn the camera on and then just kind of keep this all clean. Okay, you guys, so I had ordered half a pound of Taleggio cheese, and this is about what it looks like. I am going to start by cutting this half in the rind and then cubing it and throwing this in my saucepan. I have turned my saucepan down to low, so we will do that. So it looks like about half to me. Gonna cut the rind off. Don't want that on there. And depending on how I feel, we will add more as I see is needed. So deep part of rind right there. So a Taleggio cheese can be considered normal to see a blue mold on it. If yours is ever in the refrigerator and starts to develop a red mold, you will want to chunk that. Okay, so as you can see, I'm chopping it up into little cube-like pieces. I guess they're more rectangular if you care to get technical. The smell of this cheese may leave a lot to be desired, but the taste is incredible. Okay, so my saucepan is turned down to low, and I'm gonna go ahead and throw these in there. In addition to these, I will throw in roughly 2 tablespoons of heavy whipped cream. That's heavy whipped cream, and I will stir my pan constantly so that the cheese doesn't burn, but rather melts to a very milky consistency. Okay, I'll show you guys what that looks like soon. Okay, so my garlic is roasted, as you can see. I am gonna take it and I'm gonna simply squeeze that garlic into my sauce, and then I'll stir it and show you guys what we're working with, okay? Okay, so my pizza dough is finished rising. I'm cooking, my love. I'm making us dinner. I'm making dinner. So you see, it's all puffy. So I'm simply just gonna pull that out, and that amount of flour I made is enough to make 2 pizzas, 2 larges, a large and a medium. I've done with this, depending on how thick you want your crust. So there it is. Like I mentioned, it is big enough to make 2 pizzas. I'm only doing 1 for right now. So I'm just simply gonna cut my dough in half using this wonderful dough cutter that my mother-in-law gave me. I work on rolling this out for our pizza. Now I wish I was super duper fancy and could toss this in the air and all that fancy stuff, but I'm not that good. So I'm just gonna stretch it with my hands, and then I will simply lay it on my pizza pan, which I've olive oiled up, and then I will roll the rest of it out, okay? So I'll show you guys what that looks like in a moment. Okay guys, so here is my pizza dough. Here is my sauce, looking delightfully cheesy and mushroomy. And I have my oven preheated to 500 degrees, so I am gonna pop this pizza crust in there, and I will let it bake anywhere from 5 to 7 minutes. I'm just gonna keep a close eye on it, make sure it doesn't burn. I've applied olive oil onto the center so that it develops that nice crunch. Okay everyone, so my pizza crust is ready to receive its toppings. Okay, I don't know how well you guys can see that. So I am going to top it off with this sauce. I'm just going to spread that around. Very mushroomy sauce. So again, this is definitely a pizza for those of us who just adore mushrooms. I'm gonna get every bit of that sauce. I think I ended up using closer to 4 tablespoons of heavy whipping cream on the sauce. And of course, as it cooked for a period of time, I ended up reconstituting it, as I showed you guys, with that shiitake mushroom water. Okay, so before I finish putting the rest of the toppings on this pizza, I am going to switch my oven, okay, to broil, so it cooks from up top, so we can just brown this pizza crust, okay? So broil, I'm gonna broil it on high. So I have also sliced up prosciutto. Really, I more like shredded it. For those of you that don't know, prosciutto is like a really fine cured bacon. I believe the process is they let a pork belly age in salt for several months, and then you simply shred it and or slice it finely and eat it. I think it is delightful, and so I'm going to be a little generous, and I'm going to add a little bit more prosciutto to this wonderful dish. This is what it looks like whole, and you just simply shred it. Shred it. I hear Wolfie, he's in there excited for dinner. My boys will eat this. They eat everything. Hopefully you guys are as lucky as I am to have little heifers. Okay, so now I'm going, oops, I don't know if you guys can still see me. My phone gave me a battery warning. So now I'm going to add fresh sliced mozzarella in huge chunks to this beauty here. Okay, I like cheese. I'm sure if you guys are eating pizza, you do too. Okay, you guys, so I am going to tell you this, that I'm about to pop this in. It won't be done in about, I give it about, how about we say another 5 minutes. Okay. And when I'm done, I will show you the end result. But what I'm going to do when it comes out of the oven is I'm going to drizzle some of this black truffle oil over it. And then I have mixed up olive oil with garlic, salt, and rosemary, and I'm just going to brush that onto the crust once it is done baking. Okay? It's pizza time, y'all. Okay, so here's my black truffle oil. And I'm just going to... Sorry for the sound effects. Okay. And now I have my little brush. I just keep this in the kitchen. You guys brush anything with barbecue sauce or crust, or whatever have you. That ensures that for us crust lovers, we have a nice, flavorful crust on top of what ingredients we've already added to this pizza. So let me oh, there's battery again. Let me show you guys what I'm working with here. Can you see that? How beautiful that looks. I think we knocked it out of the park.